I wanted to recognize that there's been a ton of AI talk, and when I was going through the timeline, came across Poof, who was getting a lot of attention for the fact that they are using AI in the space in a very novel way, and they're solving an issue, which is the friction of development. We've seen this be a barrier to entry over the last decade in crypto, which is you know you have to find devs, or you have to be very smart. You have to be able to build without documentation. You have to deal with constant bugs and things changing. But now, what Poof has done is launch a website that lets you literally create a crypto business, a crypto dApp, anything on the Solana blockchain in a matter of seconds. All you have to do is have the idea and be able to describe it, put it into the chat terminal, and all of a sudden, you have a bunch of tasks that become they go into code and development, and out pops a dApp. We're joined with one of the co-founders here, Bilal, today. So excited to have you here. I think a proper introduction and maybe a better overview of what Poof does might be warranted here.
Cool. Yeah, no, thank you for that intro. Yeah, Poof does exactly what you described. The goal is to be able to take like prompts, and vibe coding is this term you hear a lot, and be able to generate full-fledged Solana dApps with actual on-chain functionality. And we really want to just push the space forward. Like you said, my co-founder and I, we have a deep development background, specifically in dApps and writing smart contracts. And we know how cumbersome and hard and difficult it could be. So we're really trying to kind of close that gap and bring not just crypto to the masses, but development in crypto to the masses, and onboard new developers to the crypto world, which is honestly, it's going to benefit us all.
We need it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen Doodles, like their slogan was like build something, and Coinbase with Jesse, he was saying coin it. Like this idea of just like more like output apps. We need more things instead of and not to take away from what Pump Fun has done, but that's just tokens, right? Like we
Yeah.
need more things to interact with and to bring and onboard users in. What was interesting, I was starting to think, I was like, all right, we started out in the world of crypto as like, okay, we want things to build. Then they became easier. We saw with NFTs, you had NFT launch pads. Then we went to token launch pads with, everything from Boop to Pump Fun to everybody's launching a token launch pad now. And I joked a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh, when are we going to have launch pads to launch pads? You essentially have built that in some
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. No, honestly, yes. It's just a very popular use case right now, and we're using it to kind of just bootstrap the power behind Poof, and like just to show everybody what Poof is capable of. And it's just a use case that resonates with everybody, but that is not the end vision. Like we want to really push the space forward and see a bunch of new novel apps being created on chain.
What is your grand like vision for Poof.new?
Yeah, so under the hood of Pufanu, we're using some like tech to make smart contract development much easier. It's meant to be like chain agnostic, and really just level the playing field with like Web 2 development. We see it as like Web 3 development should be on par with Web 2 development, and until we're there, like this space won't really take off. So we're using Poof to kind of showcase this tech and show it off. Like, hey, look, you can quickly spin up really full functional dApps with just prompts, right? With using plain English. And as we kind of onboard users onto our platform, we want to kind of improve our platform to really increase its capabilities to see a bunch of like interoperable, composable apps being built in the internet that we all kind of want and envision.
I think that is it's a massive stepping point for the industry to now be told, okay, if you have the idea, you don't need to go and spend a year learning how to code, or you don't have to spend weeks trying to find developers that you trust or you can pay, and like that whole friction point. Now it is literally idea output. I one area that you mentioned there is chain agnostic. You're on Solana right now on DevNet. You're hopefully moving to mainnet soon. I don't know if you have any timeline there.
We're working hard on it. It's soon. Yeah, it's soon. We're really drilled in right now on just fixing bugs, and that was kind of a big motivation of kind of just move into an open beta, just so we can really start iterating on the product and the protocol that we're building underneath the product to get it to mainnet ASAP.
I'm curious because I had a founder on yesterday who talked about this. When do you come out of building for yourself to going to beta and going out of stealth mode, which I think is I roll my eyes at that because it's like, all right, put your product out there. Don't be worried about getting front run. I'm sure you've had some people be like, why are you like, don't go too soon, pump up fun, or one of these other guys who has tons more money is gonna like front run you. Like, how did you guys discuss that internally as a company?
Yeah, for us, it was kind of different. A co-founder and I were like engineers at heart, and sometimes we can be perfectionists. And we honestly, we weren't too concerned about the market and like other players. We were more concerned on like, hey, we think we're building something cool and different here, and we want to make sure it's at a place where we can get that wow effect that this is different. So just like that constant tug of war with, hey, this could be better, or do we put it out there? And I think ultimately we decided now is a good time to kind of just put it out there, start getting feedback. Obviously, still tons of work to do. But yeah, I would say that was like the impasse that we had internally.
And you've already have such a great reception from everybody who's used it. I'm curious what like your favorite creation that you've seen come out of it. I know that Erman Khan out of Alliance DAO was basically on the timeline saying, "Wow, this is one of the first things. Like, this is great. This is absolutely amazing."
Yeah.
What I'm curious from your eyes because you have assumptions of like what people use it to make. What that like one you're like, "Oh, wait, that's a little out of right field," but that's good that people are like thinking in that way.
Yeah, there's a lot of interest in just like financialization of markets, like whether it's sport betting markets. We're seeing a lot of people trying to just create a market for anything, really. So there's been a lot of interest in that. Gaming is huge. People love the idea of just being able to like build games and add this like easy financial component to these games, where in Web 2 it's very difficult to do, even for developers, which is kind of something that crypto brings to the table, which makes it unique. So we're seeing a lot of games, and then like SocialFi and prediction markets, and then just tools for traders. It's just the reality. A big core chunk of our audience is just traders. So help people like track addresses and track activity, and instead of going onto these like really these generic tools that are meant to fit like thousands of use cases. And what happens usually when you build software that is meant to fit thousands of use cases, it becomes kind of complicated to navigate, where we're seeing traders be like, hey, no, I just want to have this use case. Let me just prompt it, build it up, and kind of use it from there. So yeah, I would say those are the 3 to 4 common areas we're seeing.
I've definitely seen the like assumption or at least like prediction that we start seeing personal apps become like the future where instead of going to an app store and downloading like the general app that solves everything, we'll probably obviously still have those, but hey, I want to use a camera filter app, but I want very specific things. So I type it in and poof, it appears. Oh, poof is you
Yeah.
have it on my head. That's such
I
great
can't take that was
branding
my
and naming.
co-founder's, he was really big on that name. I can't take credit for that one, but I
That's
love
it's
how
such a great name. It is
yeah.
such a great name. But it appears and now you use it. It's just for you. And maybe even because you came up with the idea, you could put that out there. Is is that also how you see the future for I guess crypto markets as well?
Yeah, I think develop programming in general has been like uh, how do I describe it? Like not a commodity, but just something rare that a certain group of the population has gotten to really benefit from. Like if you ask any dev, they've been approached by at least like 10 friends with an app idea. And I think the problem is we were kind of excluding all these really good creative product thinkers that just didn't have the ability to really bring their ideas to life. And now that world is changing, right? You don't have to be a cracked 10x engineer to really build something if you have a cool idea, right? And I think where crypto comes into play is crypto is great at monetizing attention. It does it better than like Web 2. So if you can build something that just grabs attention in any way, shape, or form, and you just know what people are into, what's going to resonate with the general population, you can just come into the platform, build it, and then as we get closer to mainnet, you'll have ways to kind of monetize that attention and put money in your pocket, which is ultimately what we want to do. We want to see more cool apps be out there and these apps creators be rewarded.
So I'm curious on the idea of making money here. You guys obviously are a business. There is infrastructure cost and AI computational costs. Are you guys going to do a token? Have you looked at fundraising? I'm just curious, like how you're approaching like the actual business of Poof.
Yeah, we have we have no plans for token right now. We're really just honed in on creating the best product in the market and just been have drilled in on that. We actually just came out of the Alliance cohort. So we went through the Alliance style cohort. So that's kind of we have some funding there and that's enough to kind of give us some runway. Definitely looking to raise some money at some point and kind of starting talks on that right now.
Does
Um,
does Alliance do like a YC or like an Orange DAO type like it's like almost a accelerator startup?
yeah, that's exactly what they do.
Okay,
But
gotcha.
yeah, it's like you can think of it like a crypto WebC. I would say they're the best. Highly recommend them if anyone is wants to build in crypto. Yeah, couldn't think of a better team.
I I've seen that become a more popular route for startups these days. Even as recent as this morning, somebody saying like, "Hey, you either are going to bootstrap it, do an accelerator, or you need to get to a point where you can take a bigger check." Like those are like the three paths that most people are taking these days. It
Yeah.
definitely seems like you're going like very bootstrappy though approach alongside the accelerator path.
Yeah, my co-founder and I have been working on this like the protocol underneath Poof for since like mid last year. So we've been
Oh
working on
wow.
this for a while. And then the actual like vibe coding app side of like the layer on top of the protocol, we started maybe like 2.5 months ago. So we've just been kind of all in on just building this thing for a while. But yeah, Alliance has helped tremendously just going through the accelerator.
Massive review for Alliance Dell's accelerator. Um, I'm curious as you talk about vibe coding and using AI for those who have used it. There is the like the golden use case of yes, I one shot it. I got exactly what I wanted. There's also the absolute terror side of it, which is okay. I got most of what I want, and now I need to change some things, or I'm going to come back in a week, and now I want to add something on, and it turns into this nightmare feedback loop of, damn, like you had it right, and you fixed something else, but you broke four other things,
Yeah.
and if you're not a technical, if you didn't go to, you're not a computer science background or an engineering background, you often feel helpless. I'm curious how you guys are approaching solving that issue, especially in an area that's like very hard to just go on Google and say, okay, I have this error. How do I fix it?
Yeah, so right now we're honestly it's very bottoms up grassroots where we're working with some power users closely to kind of identify gaps and see what went wrong and see how we can improve the protocol to like prevent this from happening in the future. So that was kind of a big motivation of even going up with the public beta, I guess, to really see where are some of the shortcomings and kind of close those gaps. That being said, AI is not perfect, and like you could type a prompt into Proof, I could type the same exact prompt into Proof, and we'll get completely different products, right? So it's like you have to learn. It is a skill in itself, and we're talking to actually some people like vibe coders who they because this vibe coding like think tools like Lovable and Bolt have been out for a while now, so they've been using these tools and they're very curious on how they can bring this skill into Web3. So it's kind of becoming its own skill in a way.
It is.
And yeah, and then in the future, we're planning on adding ways to like export your code. So if you ever want to just take full control, you can do that as well.
And but can you come in with code, or is that something that you see happening of like, hey, here's a code base of what I've written. Can you fix, I think the very interesting part is the integration side of APIs and tool calls and things that, yes, this might be complex for a person to do on their own, but through you guys, it seems almost like trivial. You want to integrate into Solana, easy. You want to integrate Privy, easy, and that is happening through Poof.
Yeah. Yeah, we're right now we're kind of just expanding the API capabilities of Proof and like what different external APIs it can talk to. But I would say like for us, we really are owning in on the on-chain components and being able to build cool like on-chain applications and giving that power to everybody, right? That's kind of the unique nature of blockchains, where it's like this open computer that everyone can use, including AI agents. So we've been kind of focusing on that, but over time we will expand like the external APIs. Like the one that comes up a lot is the Twitter API, just because
Twitter,
it's
yeah.
easy, right? Everyone wants to do stuff with Twitter or X. So we will add those too, but we're not really reinventing the wheel there. So it's we're kind of focusing more on the thing that kind of makes us unique.
Exactly. And plus the Twitter API is moderately expensive.
Yeah.
Once you actually like look into using it, you're like, damn, okay. Elon has cranked the prices up here.
APIs have been businesses for forever, right?
Right.
It's a very lucrative business model.
I'm curious who like a partnership or like API that you guys view as like a white whale. Like who, if you could land anybody, who would it be that you think is hard to land?
Well, so we use Uniblock right now, which is they've been great. They are kind of like a one-stop shop for all
Yep.
crypto APIs, and they're also came out of the Alliance accelerator, so we got connected with them and couldn't ask for better partners in that regard. And that kind of solves a lot of like the crypto data use case for us, like people wanting to build like portfolios and tracking prices of different assets and whatnot, and like NFTs too. Yeah, so they've been pretty useful, and we've been able to spin up. We've seen some dApps being built using that API.
I know that it is it can be very hard. Again, I hope if you're listening to this and you haven't built something, uh, it might sound like, oh, like that's nice, like that's good for those devs, but it is truly like this solves a big headache for developers. That is like, oh damn, we need to get portfolio updates, and we're using like regardless of if you're using like it's not great with this API, but this other one, oh now we got to go integrate in. It's like it becomes like this tangled mess of wires sometimes. So to have that just be done for you is massive.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, no, totally. I've been developing for a long time, so I know how much of a headache it can be to like wire these things together. And big corporations, it could take like months, depending on the
what
project.
is your full background? I know we touched on you being
Yeah,
a Virginia Tech alum. I'm wearing the Virginia Tech
nice.
hoodie here. I'm curious, like, what is your path to getting to where you are today?
Yeah, so I have a traditional developer background where yeah, I studied software engineering or computer science, and then I spent some time working at a bunch of different companies, but most of my time was at Facebook actually. So I worked at Facebook, and then during 2021, like during the big NFT boom, like NBA Top Shot blew up, and my co-founder and I, he was working at Amazon at the time. We were very curious about the tech underneath Top Shot, and we kind of pried into the blockchain, which was Flow blockchain at that time. And at that, this was pre like ChatGPT. So we identified a gap basically in the market where everyone was looking for smart contract engineers, right? And very few people knew how to actually do smart contract engineering, especially in this particular use case, in this new blockchain, I would say. So we ended up quitting. I ended up quitting my job at Facebook and starting like a dev shop. And literally, what we did was we just 0 to 1 a bunch of dApps for a bunch of different IPs out there. We just were like a consulting company. You can think of
That's a
it.
big leap quitting Facebook. I mean, pretty freshly out of college too. I mean, obviously, I think you had what, like 4 years at that point, maybe.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like that's a big leap to go jump into a whole new industry, but obviously there was demand at the time too.
yeah. There was demand, but it wasn't just demand. It was really being like energized by the Web3 mission, which it's always fun to kind of think about where it's come since 2021. But at that time, man, it's like I view that as like peak internet, like the NFT boom, and things were nice. So
What a time to be alive too. Like
yeah,
if
honestly,
you lived in that moment, you look back and you're like, wow, those were the good old days. Like you feel like a little bit of a like crypto
yeah,
boomer.
yeah, honestly, it's crazy. I meet some crypto folks that like came in through Pump Fund, and I'm just like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
you missed a lot. You missed a lot
yeah.
of lore.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing wrong with Pump Fund, but it was the NFTs personally, I enjoyed that market. So yeah, and then ultimately we joined Dapper Labs through the dev shop and kind of helped them internally with help develop Flow and kind of push it forward. And then ultimately I left Dapper Labs and wasn't sure really what I wanted to do, but ended up just going to Coinbase and worked at Coinbase for a bit, worked on their like crypto stack, and then was enjoying that honestly. Coinbase was great, and then my co-founder we always talked about this idea of like making Web3 development as easy as Web2, given our like Web2 background, and we decided to go all in on it. and we quit our jobs. I quit Coinbase to kind of build this protocol, and then vibe coding started blowing up. And then what we were like, wait a minute, we're building this protocol to help make dApp development much easier. This thing, vibe coding, is blowing up. Um, Not only is this protocol going to make dApp development easier for humans, but in theory, it should also make it easier for AI. So we tested this like hypothesis, and it turned out to be true. And that's when we went all in on like, hey, let's just build this product here called Poof that uses our protocol to really push the dApp space forward.
Do you see a future where Poof is not like primarily right now, 100% it is humans going to Poof and saying, I need this
Yep.
to achieve this, or I have this idea. At some point, do you see this being agents, Eliza and virtuals coming to Poof and saying, all right, I'm an agent. I have an idea. I need to have this done. They use you. And then you become a extension of all these agents, essentially.
Oh yeah, 100%. I feel like the software will become a commodity, and it will go back to the people that have the best ideas that will get rewarded, and like the creative thinkers. Like I can imagine a world where you have agents just going out and building apps and putting them on Twitter and testing which ones are getting the most traction, which ones have the most potential, and doing this at scale, programmatically, and then using that to come back to like a creator who's like orchestrating these agents and saying like, oh wait, this is the one that kind of has some traction of my like 10 ideas, and then this may be the one I can like kind of grow into its own business and whatnot. But yeah, 100%.
I mean, because we're getting into like such hypotheticals, but it's
Yeah.
interesting. It's like an interesting thought process of, okay, in that case, it becomes who has the best ideas, who can take their like personal brand, and like their their personal outlook on the world, get that into a data set, and then get that into AI and have that like operate, or how can you control AI off of that like uniqueness of yourself. That becomes like the most valuable thing as a human at some point. And
Yep.
then we get into the whole conversation around like, well, then what is the value of money, and like what are people doing? It just gets very weird, like weird. I think that's the right word.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely weird, but it's clearly like the direction the world's going in. So like I remember when AI first came out, I was like most people, I don't want to say first came out, but when like ChatGPT blew up, AI's been around for a while. Like most people, I was like, whoa, what is this? Wait, this thing is very smart. Like, what's the world going to be like? And you had this like anxiety about the world. But I think ultimately I just came around to wanting to help shape that world instead of just sitting back and kind of letting it shape in how it ends up shaping in. I'd rather have some like influence on it. But yeah, it's cool. I like the idea of like people that just understand what people want being rewarded for it, and then like the skills to put whatever it is that people want out there is like becoming much more easier with AI. So in theory, it should lead to better products.
And that's what we need.
Yeah.
It's just the end thing is better products. I'm curious as like a consumer yourself of like the blockchain and crypto and NFTs, like what like throughout this journey and like what you see, where do you see the biggest gap for consumers to come in? Right now it is launching of tokens, I would say. Like that is and I think launch coins a whole different area that we can get into of like internet capital markets. Um but what do you see the gap, like the big gap that maybe isn't like today, but like, hey, like in a couple of months, this is where you see the industry going for like development?
Yeah, I think the one thing that really hasn't been tapped into, unfortunately, is the interoperable, composable nature of crypto. I think that's a really unique uh, like power that it has compared to Web 2, where like you can build something and then people can build on top of it. And I think that really hasn't came into fruition the way I thought it would in 2021, to be honest. And I think a big hurdle is just the how difficult it is to develop um, on chain in particular, like writing smart contracts that interact
Right.
with other smart contracts. Like there's a very small group of people that are even able to do that. So I think as this quote unquote power comes to everyone, I'm hoping we see more of that kind of come into fruition.
I know it is from, again, personal experience. I know developing on EVM was difficult. It was not trivial, but there was a large pool. And then I started looking at Solana and I was like, okay, this is even smaller. It's
Yeah.
harder to find more like niche people doing certain things. And like, oh man, like I don't even get me started on like finding good Solana devs. I think it's very hard right now.
Yeah.
Very, very hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just there isn't a lot of code and examples out there from people to learn from, which is one thing we've just noticed with Solana. I mean, EVM has just been around forever, and I think that like the open source nature of EVM kind of also helps too. But yeah, it's I would say it's as someone that has done Web2 development and Web3 development, it really is nothing like writing smart contracts. It's in terms of degree of difficulty, it's like up there in terms of what I've done.
How are you guys solving that like lack of examples and data to like go off of to come out with non-hallucinated, code and properly be able to get, because some of these examples I saw people posting, I was like, that is slightly specific and I've not seen that before. um you're gonna have to have like pretty high up there IQ code uh to achieve that. How are you solving that issue?
Yeah, so even before Poof, we that was the issue. That was like the problem we quit our jobs to set out and solve. In our world, it should just you should just be able to like describe what you want your dApp to be like and your smart contract to be like, and it shouldn't matter what protocol you're on, or if it's testnet versus mainnet, like getting tests of some currency, and it's just all these kind of battles you have to fight. So the way we're solving it is we're kind of building this protocol underneath Poof, which is like um, is putting like guardrails on what the AI can do. So our AI doesn't actually generate raw smart contract code. It generates our intermediate like language, which is much more AI and I would say human friendly, which we can talk about security because that's always a topic that comes up a lot in vibe coding. But it's a lot more AI and human friendly. And that was kind of like the hypothesis we tested that, hey, AIs can do a lot more with this language and protocol that we're creating because it's very similar to Web2 tech, which they're natively trained on for like, 15, 20 years worth of data.
Right.
So that's how we're solving it. And yeah, so we're not even writing the AI doesn't write one line of smart contract code.
Okay, explain that a little bit more,
Yeah.
and maybe even for those who aren't experienced, because like I know that when we were choosing, like we were like, oh no, Python is way better output from AI. Like if you're using Cursor, Python's way easier to use than like I would assume Go,
Mhm.
is which is newer and there's less
Yeah.
examples, etc. So explain what you're doing in a little bit more detail, because I kind of get it, but I don't know if I fully get it.
Yeah. So we're basically, you can kind of think of it as like the best way to describe it is if you're familiar with some of the Web2 tools like Firebase and Supabase,
Yeah,
we're making like a crypto version of that. And what we're
gotcha.
finding internally is that the AIs are really good at generating backends using our language that is more similar to these other existing Web2 technologies, first writing raw smart contract code. And then we take whatever the AI generates, which is like the output of what your dApp should do. And then under the hood, we have a method of basically running that code on chain. So right now it's on Solana. So we basically we in a way kind of created our own programming language internally where we just compile it down to our programming language and then we just interpret that on chain. And to yeah, the best way to say it is we just take this policy language and then we just run your code, and it can run on any chain. You can run that interpreter on EVM, SVM,
Right,
Move.
and I was gonna say that to me is like a venture person. That's like my like holy shit. Like, let me write a check. Is okay. You just did for Solana. It's very easy to go to EVM because you have a policy language that you can
Yeah,
just write over. Hey, new L2 with like uniqueness to it, and so you need like boom right in new
ex-
L1 high chance boom right in. Like it's very very useful.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's and then the way my co-founder I've been right. We've run smart contracts in Move and Solidity and Rust. So we've done like all three kind of smart contract paradigms. So at this point, we just understand that stuff really well. So we were able to create this like abstraction, this AI human friendly abstraction on top of it. So you other users don't have to worry about it, and that includes AIs because AIs aren't great on writing raw smart contract code,
They are not. A huge part of
especially
that
small.
is security,
Yeah,
because if you're not able, for me, it's if you aren't able, if you didn't write the code and you don't fully understand it, it's not secure.
yep,
And obviously there's gaps, but also like you don't know, like there could be an like a totally exposed API endpoint somewhere in your code. You just don't know it. how are you guys handling the security side of this, making sure if I launch a marketplace, I know users' funds are safe. I know nobody's going to get drained.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. So we have already made security a lot easier because what you have to audit is not actual Rust Solana code. What you have to audit is like our output of the policy file, you can call it, which is much more readable. So like the system underneath that, we're going to audit. We're going to get that audited, and we're actually in the process of getting it audited too, which is kind of one of the precursors to getting to mainnet. And so once that system is bulletproof, then all you have to audit is like the actual like policies that is unique to your app. And like I said, it reads like Web 2. It's very simple and for anyone to understand. So we will have AI to kind of come in and audit these policies, which we're actually already doing on the platform a little bit when we're generating these policies for you. But there will be like a whole path to getting to mainnet for devs on the site. And we'll partner with some security researchers and security engineers that if you want, before you launch your project to mainnet, you can get connected with them and they can do like a quick audit of your policy. And this will just the fact that they only have to audit the policy, the audit will be a lot more cheaper than if you were to go and get a raw like Solana program audited.
It's not cheap.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
there's been a common theme of like it's easier, it's cheaper. These are all great things for
Yeah,
anybody with ideas.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, like we set out to solve this problem to begin with. The vibe coding thing kind of came in later, and we were just like, this just makes sense for us to do and to really go out there and showcase this tech that we've built.
do you guys view like as so you can replace pump fund in some way? If I want to say create a token, it can just launch a token, right?
Yeah.
Um, as far as like virtuals, which is another launch pad that is a similar thing on Solana right now, or maybe not Solana. I think they're on base, but like Eliza, for example, like how hard is it for somebody to come in and like be like, hey, I want to launch an AI agent through Poof? Are you able to do that, or is that just like down the road type thing?
We're not able to do that right now, and I wouldn't even say if it's down the road. I that's not really, I guess, the market we're going after. Potentially, we'll see how it kind of pans out, but we really want just user to dApp is kind of like the user story that we're going after. Like you can just get something tangible in your hands. It's something you can share with your friends. You can add some crypto components into whatever you want to share with your friends immediately, and you can do this in a safe and secure manner is kind of our goal. And there's a lot of work to be done to even just solving that. So we just don't want to be like spread very thin. There's tons of people solving the AI agent launch pads as well.
A lot,
But
yes.
yeah, our backgrounds is more on the smart contract side, so it just kind of makes sense to focus on this.
That makes sense. Of all the other things that we've talked about that are coming, and how your focus is being shifted around here, the other thing that I saw on the site was that your dexes are soon to come and bonding curves. Can you talk a little bit on why you're doing those two and why those are like promoted on like, hey, soon to come on the roadmap?
Yeah, it's just big in demand, and I think you can build a lot of cool applications with bonding curves of just adding like for example, we've seen apps where people have agents that play games against each other, and you can trade the agents tokens on a bonding curve, right? And there's a lot you can do with bonding curves without needing liquidity, which has always been like a big kind of gap in crypto and trying to bootstrap anything. So bonding curves themselves are extremely powerful. I would say like, I don't know what the number is, but almost every top consumer app in crypto right now, at least in Solana, has some notion of a bonding curve, whether they use like a similar like product model like Pump or something else is up to you. And so it's just high in demand. It really helps you bootstrap cool consumer apps with this like crypto-esque nature in it without liquidity, which is extremely powerful.
Yes, I agree. I think some of the best back in 2021 bonding curves were used very well, but I then think that there's like a predatorial shift from bonding curves to like price ramps.
Yep.
I think that's the correct terminology for them, but like bonding curves where you can get back out within that same curve. Yes, well, very well done. Yeah, the pricing ramp, that is the correct word. Where like it was like, okay, if you didn't buy the NFT early, now you have to pay double, And then if you didn't pay then, now you're paying quadruple. Like it just kept going up, and you can't really sell back into that because it's not a bonding curve; it's just a price ramp.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know Beanie was a huge like vocal voice on like how bad that was for the industry, and it's very extractive. But bonding curves for the most part are overlooked for how good they are for the ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it comes with its cons too, with,
Oh,
like,
sure.
snipers and whatnot, but there's some solid teams out there trying to tackle the sniper problem, so I'm really excited to see what comes out in that space as well, but yeah, it's just cool. I don't mind if it's bonding curves. I still think there's room in the market for, like, airdrops and whitelist and things of that nature. So the cool thing about something like Poof is you can kind of do it how you want it and how you envision it. If you want to just go straight to bounding curve, you can, or if you have a select group of people you want to like airdrop them tokens to and then go on a bounding curve, you can. It's really you just described what you want in English, which is pretty powerful.
Right. Is your driving KPI the number of dApps launched, or is it the number of users using a dApp that you guys launch? Like, how are you measuring that
Yeah,
success right
I
now?
think during open beta, it's definitely the former, but I think over time it'll graduate to the latter.
And then you guys would be looking, I would assume, at some point to charge fees for using your, I guess, protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Since all the apps are built on top of our protocol, we're able to like embed some fees into it, similar to like a Metaplex, if you're familiar with some of the
Yes.
Solana ecosystem. Yeah.
Yeah. It's oh man, this is so and I was excited before we talked because for me, I talked with some people from the V Friends team, which is Gary Vaynerchuk's
Mhm.
NFT project. And I sat down with them. I was like, hey, listen, what you're doing with Whatnot right now, the live stream raffles and giveaways and live stream shopping, I love. Absolutely love it. Um, and we spent a really great hour discussing of all the strategy there and how that grows over time. And I was like, well, okay, nobody's doing this for Web3. Like, why can't I have a verifiable on-chain raffle? Or I want to launch a token and I want to raffle off tokens. Like that's not trivial to do. Um, but I want to incentivize people signing up for my service. How hard would it be to make that? And I threw it in, and I think I got like
Yeah.
85% of the way there. But I was like, okay, wow, that is something that would have actually taken quite some time to do.
Yeah. That is definitely not possible right now, but we are actively working on making that possible. What makes that really hard is just randomness on chain is extremely difficult, but our protocol will make it much more easier for the AI. So that's actually something I was looking into last week because we are seeing a lot of people wanting to do randomness on chain. People like the idea of that. And man, even if you're a dev, integrating some randomness on chain of like using some like Oracle and verifying that the random number wasn't like, tampered with, it's very complicated. So um, I'm I'm glad to see that a lot of people want to do that, and I'm very excited to like have the protocol support it, where it would be like extremely easy for AI to embed randomness to on-chain programs. So
Are you and I thought about this a little bit selfishly in the fact I was like, okay, what they're doing is very cool. I have a ton of portfolio companies, and I thought of one or two specifically, and I was like, okay, what if they worked with Poof, and all of a sudden I'm using this marketplace, but I want to view data on this, or I want to view the items, or I want to be able to do something very specifically. Um, have you guys thought about like integrating into other companies and letting them basically use your protocol to then create their own like dApps within a dApp type thing? Or is that like, am I like dreaming way
no.
too hard?
We are actually doing that. We're working with some companies right now that are using our protocol under the hood, and like just going through Alliance, we're connected with a lot of different app companies that have cool ideas. And once these companies want to go public, you'll see them on the Proof account. We'll help like amplify them and partner with them. But yeah, tons of people are coming in and wanting to either build net new dApps or build like the cool thing about crypto is like the interoperability and the composability aspect of it. So you could build dApps on top of other dApps, which I still think people don't really understand like the power that's there, and we're hoping to like really demonstrate that. So as we get closer to mainnet, we'll like show off a bunch of cool apps that are being built.
Yeah. I'm I'm I've been watching the ICM market, the launch coin market very
Yeah.
closely. Do you have any takes there on again, it's a meta of launching things and creating things. what do you think that we've over time have basically trained anybody in crypto to enter the mindset of like, okay, you can launch whatever you want whenever. And now you guys are basically offering something that's like far more high value or like far more tangible of like like launch a tangible thing. Um, how have you viewed like the ICM meta that we've had recently?
Yeah, I think the ICM meta is very powerful. I think what Believe is doing is awesome, honestly. The best I think what they're doing is really has a potential to onboard Web2 users that just don't, because like going to Pump Fund right now, you really have to be in the trenches. You have to be using like 10 different tools to not get burned, where it seems more of like it's not regulated, obviously, because they kind of like oh, it's kind of regulated, I guess, where they kind of pick and choose. But as someone that just wants to invest in cool apps and is not, an accredited investor and all the other criteria they have to follow to become an accredited investor and invest in startups. What they're doing is very novel and new, and I'm really excited about it. And I think it's cool. And in terms of like Poof, yeah, I mean, you can imagine a world where someone brings a dApp, builds a dApp, all since it's on chain, right? All their like TVL and their volume and everything will kind of be public. So you would you would see some snowball effects of like the top dApps, where it's if you're doing really well and you wanted to create a coin and raise money for your dApp, you could. And bringing this transparency and to normal users, I think will be huge, right? Because like even in Believe right now, it's like sometimes it's like I'll go on, I see this token, I'm like, oh, this looks really cool. Then I have to do some research on the side, find the app, use it, like Dupe, for example, which I've become a power user of. Uh,
Really?
yeah, yeah. And then so it's like where I think here it's like you can go into the apps directly, use them if you like them, you can invest in them.
I I've been on the fence. And it's funny because I've like shifted from I was such like a hater, and then I was like, actually, I do see some validity here once you get through like the fog of war and like some of like the extractiveness that we saw very early on.
Yeah,
Um, but I think over the last week I've shifted to a closer mentality with you. I'm not fully bought in yet,
yeah,
but I have definitely shifted closer to, okay, I do see the value here of bringing a lot of this on chain and tokenizing attention and performance of a company through TVL and other KPIs that you want to measure that against.
yeah. And just like investing in general or raising money in general can be a very long process. And I just think the VC business is great, but not everything is really has a VC potential, like in terms of raising money. So I think something like Believe, you don't need like IPO level numbers to justify raising money, right? You can raise money for something that's smaller, get some money in your pocket to work on a project. So I think what they're doing there will be really powerful, and I'm curious to see how it plays out and what kind of apps that we see.
It'd be interesting. The raise conversation is always a tricky one.
Yeah,
I think the accelerator path is the best one for many to take because it doesn't put you in this position of, okay, here's a bunch of money, good luck. It definitely is like, okay, guardrails are up. There's tons of tools, tons of other resources for you to use. You haven't taken on a ton of capital where you have like 3 million and you've never, maybe you have before, but um, I also looked at the token side and I was like, hey, wait, if I was a founder and I was like, fuck it, nothing to lose. I'm willing to risk it all here. Let's do it. And I might walk away with like $1 million, $2 million. And now I just need to make sure the token, and that's the big thing, is making sure the token has a place in the company. If it
yeah.
doesn't, then that's where it's like, okay, you might have just fucked up a little bit.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I totally agree. I just think like not everything needs to be a venture-backed business. And I think everyone kind of has this mindset of like that is the path you take, right? Like you build something, you raise a lot of money, you go after this like, multi-million to unicorn level exit. And I think there is a market for things that aren't as ambitious or big, and that I think that's okay. Like if you can just build something that like, I don't know, 50,000 people like using or 20,000 people like using, there's a way that you should get rewarded for that and not having to IPO or get acquired or something. So I'm very curious to see how that space pans out of these like um, mini non VC type of apps, and I think Believe is in position to make some noise there, but we'll see how it plays out.
We'll see. I'm looking forward to watching maybe not from the sidelines, definitely involved, but I'm looking forward to watching. While you're talking, I had a question around, we see all these different things launching and the legality of certain things, and obviously, if I come to Poof and I'm like, "Hey, I want to make a sports gambling app," how are you guys like handling like this? Like literally anything can come and be made there. Now, if you are basically hosting that through your protocol, you kind of have some skin on the game as far as like compliance with the US or just compliance with like laws globally.
Yeah.
How are you approaching that? Or right now that's just like, hey, we're getting dApps out. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely we have ideas on how to approach that and solve those problems. A lot of like making sure the ownership of the code is in the actual users, and we don't own anything, and we're not hosting things for you. So we're just the platform and not liable. But we've been really just focused on the dApp side of things, and that's another precursor to getting to mainnet, because right now we're on DevNet, so it's like you're not really using your real funds for anything. So, but yeah, it's definitely, we're not here to try to like, not host your own or take ownership of code. Like we want it to really be like what you build on Poof is yours. You can export it, you can host it, you can do whatever you want. And especially if it's on chain, then the world can use it, right? So we definitely have that, like, I guess, more open, transparent blockchain protocol type of energy and vibe.
Yeah, that it's so interesting. The way that it's so open and anything can happen. And this is Solana only right now, but over time, let's say this goes to base, that opens up even more opportunities and integrations. And um, I've definitely seen the like talking to Coinbase over the last week or two here. There are some very interesting things when you start working within like an ecosystem that has those like, oh, well, if you use Base and you have integration of Coinbase Wallet, then you can get access to this now. And
Yeah,
that also then offers you this with USDC. And it's like, oh, wow, okay. Just adding on this one little thing 10x the capabilities of what we're able to do.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's just distribution. People need. I just being in the startup space. Distribution is huge, and Coinbase has distribution like no other in crypto.
no.
So if people can, get some of that distribution, they would totally take it. I totally understand. And we have some ideas around distribution to help on like Poof apps too, but we're just not there yet. But there's definitely tons of things you can do to kind of help app creators on that front. But anyone can build something cool, but like sometimes it takes that little spark for people to see it, just because you lack the means to kind of put it out there. So we definitely don't want that to happen. Like
Right.
if you build something that is worth having people's attention and people actually want to use it, then people should use it.
You are one viral dApp away from being like the most known crypto company in the space, and at any moment, which is very cool. And that comes from also, I like the fact that you fall under the kingmaker philosophy that I think Barstool has done very well, which is you guys just create a platform and anybody can come on and use that platform. And if they start to blow up and get all this attention, you guys are like, hey, how do we throw fuel on the fire? How can we help you? Like, welcome to our ecosystem. But that then brings in more people like, oh, I saw what he did. I have a cool idea too. And it just self sustains itself and growing. But you guys are still in DevNet and you're that one like viral moment away,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like.
Yeah, and we're actually seeing a lot of users like being very secretive with the apps they're creating and whatnot, and it's cool to see. Like a lot of people are betting on their creative capability and like knowing or thinking they know what people want, which some of them are going to be right, and they'll be rewarded. And there's like a famous saying from, I think it was like Bill Gates who said it: "You're not a real platform till like the total value of everything built on your platform surpasses you as a platform." And we really are embodying that mindset. Like we want apps to come and build on Poof and succeed and put money in their pockets, and these vibe coders be rewarded for cool ideas.
Are you guys gonna have a discoverability whole like feature built in to, hey, if you build here, there's like King of the Hill and like listings and like trending and
Yeah, yeah. We don't know what that looks like, whether it's King of the Hill or trending, but yeah, it's something along those lines will definitely be there.
yeah, I kept coming back to I was more curious on what other people were building than what I could build, which maybe says I don't know what that says about me, but I was like, what is everybody doing? That is like what is the vibe right now? Like what does the general ecosystem want for themselves, or what are their ideas of what other people want? Um, that is where I got like super like stoked up of like, okay, all of a sudden I have all these things being
Yeah, I
output.
mean, it's crazy the world we're moving towards. Like people have ideas all the time, like having dinner with friends, you're out and about in the shower, like whatever it is. And there's always just been this gap to getting that idea to life. You always needed to connect with the dev. And then, as you know, if you want to build something on Solana, like good luck paying a Solana engineer what they're going to request. So it's cool. A lot of people are very secretive with their ideas. They're really excited about mainnet, and I'm excited to see kind of which ones do well. Some of them are cool. Like some of them even I want to use. So
Far out are we from being able to see those? Do you think?
well, a lot of a lot of these like devs or whatever users don't want their product out there until they can launch on mainnet.
Gotcha.
They're worried about like people stealing the idea for whatever, which is honestly a valid concern.
Yeah, I
Um,
was gonna say like the moat of building with you guys then becomes like almost again back to the personal brand and like attachment, because if somebody is able to use AI to build it, what is keeping somebody else from cloning that essentially?
Yeah, definitely. And that's where like we're seeing this right now with all these token launch pads and
Yeah,
and everyone, and we saw it with even like OpenSea back in the day where people are launching competitive like NFT marketplaces. So you're always going to have that. So it's always going to reward the people that can really stay on the frontier and really be on the cutting edge on what people want and innovate on that side. And this kind of goes back to my what we were talking about with Believe too, is maybe not everything needs to be a venture backed business where you need to have something like I think it's totally okay to build something that's ephemeral and brings you, a decent amount of money in a short window. Like that is a success case, right? And I think people aren't just wired that way right now. And I think we'll see that market come to life.
oh man, I'm so excited. Yeah, like I said, I was amped up before talking to you. The more I learn, the more I see how you think and are approaching this, the more excited I just get more and more excited. If people haven't already, they should go to poof.new, which is your website. Go try it out right now. Follow you guys. It's at poofnew on X. Like, is there any other things that you want people to do, or how can they get involved, or calls to action that you would want them to do right now?
Yeah, I mean, just go into the tool and build stuff and share them on the Discord. My DMs are always open. Share what you want, and then like we'll help. We'll help. We're here to help. If you have a cool idea and you hit some roadblocks, we'll help you get you unblocked and help gear you towards making sure you're ready for when we do launch mainnet. So we're here to help. Just go have fun on the product, build some stuff, like whatever ideas you have, build it. Yeah, and try to build things on chain, and let's see what happens. Let's really get this new influx of devs and developers to the Web3 world.
I love it. Dude, I absolutely fucking love it. Um Again, guys, make sure you're checking out what Poof's doing. Make sure you check out go build something. I can't tell you how cool it is to watch, because the task that it comes up with, just watch it come to life. Um it is different than a lot of other, because I've used Cursor, I've used CodeBuddy, I've used, you know, Claude, I've used ChatGPT in Chat Terminal, but it feels different. And it's also very cool to see like the Connect Wallet, button come up and be like, okay, this is like on chain. This is like living, or can be living very quickly. Um, Instead of, oh, it's just on my computer. And to get this stood up, well, now I need to go stand up like Supabase. I need to go get a website, and it's like, oh, this is like, there's still a lot to go here. You guys have taken a lot of that standing up out of the equation.
Yep. Yeah, we want to make it easy. We want to level the playing field and reward people with great ideas.
Amazing. Well, guys, again, poof.new, go check them out. Bilal, so happy to have you on today, and so glad we could connect, and looking forward to what you guys do next.
Appreciate it. No, thank you for having me.
Amazing. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks.